Buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches a todos, todas y todes. Welcome everyone to our Directors Dialogues series of our 24th edition of the Vancouver Latin American Film Festival. Today we have the pleasure of having Nadine Gómez join us. Um, Nadine is a documentary filmmaker, has an extensive career, over 15 years of making films, if I'm correct.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she is originally from Mexico City, currently resides and works in Montreal, in Quebec, here in Canada. And we have the pleasure this year of showing a wonderful documentary that she produced. It's called Chronicle of a City. Chronicle of a City.
Mm-hmm.
It's a phenomenal documentary. I would love to keep talking about it for a long time, but I think it's better for all of us if I let Nadine introduce the documentary herself. Hello, Nadine.
Hola, hi everyone. Thank you for having me in your wonderful festival. What could I say? But first of all, I'm a Montreal born. Actually, my dad
Mhm,
is from Mexico City. My mom is from Quebec.
mhm.
So I'm a hybrid kid. I grew up all my life in between both countries,
Mhm,
traveling since I was a child in Mexico City. And I say it also because I think it's at the premise of my work.
mhm,
My practice in documentary has been evolving around the idea of observing cities. Maybe because I say I don't know if you say it in English, a city rat, a kid from the city that like
mhm,
learned a bit of everything growing up in Montreal and also spending a lot of time in Mexico City. So I think I developed an interest of observing people. I think cities are a wonderful theater to observe us as humanity with all our strangeness, our problems, our magnificent achievements, everything all mixed together. And so through the years, I developed like a documentary approach. First, it was very naive. I just found a place of interest, which was like kind of remnants of of older times in Montreal. It was an old stable with horses
mhm,
of carriages. So I started filming there to document the transformation of a neighborhood and the history and the memories of cities, you know. And through the years. And through my films, I started shifting a bit my approach because documenting just as reality as it is was kind of not enough for me to understand
mhm,
better the topics I was trying to tackle and to reflect. So this slowly led me to imagine this project of Chronicle of a City as trying to picture the invisible, which was, I mean, it's a really abstract and weird way to think about a project. Cinema,
mhm,
you know, in cinema, which cinema is visible, it's what you see, but it's how can you move something? How can something be moved from the inside
mhm,
by imagination and by
mhm,
intimacy and by things that are yes fe felt but not visible. So that's what
mhm,
kind of led my initiated the project of Chronicle of the
mhm.
City.
Yeah. One thing that stood out to me watching the film was that I entered the film, um, obviously with the premise that I was going to get the story of a city. And what I wasn't expecting was that almost the full film would be told through very intimate and personal stories of different people in this sort of coalition of cities, fictitious village, if you want to call it. So I wanted to ask you about that. How were you drawn to these specific characters and these events, these moments in their lives? And what
Hmm.
led you to the decision of telling the story of a city through those very intimate portraits of those different people?
Hmm. It's a good question. I mean, it's true. It's a how could I say? It's a form of documentary which is not
Mhm,
like what we've been not what we've been seeing. We've been seeing all kinds of documentaries, but for example, in Canada, we have a lot of character-driven films.
mhm,
Mine was like kind of a polyphonic or multi-character. It's not a choral film. It's more. I wanted the film to be carried by one path led
Mhm.
by many characters, kind of
Mhm.
each other giving the tag, to the other. And so it's a trip for the viewer. You enter the film with a perspective, with a kind of subjective perspective, and you just dive in. Um, it was inspired by literature at the
Mhm.
basic of this project when I was trying to see what I wanted to say about the city at this point. I've been reading a lot. I studied a bit in urban planning and urban history. I was trying to understand what was the feeling, what was drawing me to the cities again and again. And the idea is like, I think we have to understand that cities are made by us, not just by city planners, not just by financiers, governors, or urbanists. They belong to the people that live in it, the people that dream the cities.
Mhm.
They represent our visions of the world, our intimate, well, like Italo Calvino says, no dreams and fears. Like cities are made
Mhm.
from dreams and fears. And I found that very strong and very inspiring. So I think I started digging into literature I always imagined a character going into a city for the first time, being completely amazed by it, and it's something you discovered
Mhm.
you're overwhelmed with. But when you discover it, sometimes, you can dive deep and be end up
Mhm.
in very, you know, dark and weird places. And then sometimes you find a community, and sometimes you get lost, and sometimes you don't make it, and sometimes you find a home.
Mhm.
So this was kind of what led me to do this trip, and I didn't want to have one character carrying the whole story. I wanted to meet people through the cities and try to blend cities together. So the idea was not
Mhm.
to be in one city to speak about Montreal or to speak about Mexico City or Tokyo, but to
Mhm.
make a dream city so everybody can project it or our own, stories and our own experiences into the film.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I think it was a phenomenal job that you did with putting all of these stories together and creating that sort of cohesive texture from these very different parts. And you talk a little bit about maybe not so directly, but the way that cities and different cultures have started mirroring each other and getting closer to each other. At least that's a bit of the feeling that we get with the film. Especially when you cut. I think those are the most poignant moments of that is when you cut between scenes of like people on the street that seem to be unaware that they're being recorded, and it's sort of very direct moments of those daily lives, and you cut through the different cities, and there's such a strong semblance between all of them. And I wanted to see if you had anything you wanted to talk about or touch on in respect to that.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, the idea that all cities look alike or feel alike
Hmm.
is something that's been, in the urban discourse. Some people that travel a lot for business, they would say, "I wake up in a Holiday Inn in Tokyo or in London or in Paris, and I don't know where I am." And it seems it's the same city, and the suburbs look the same, and the globalism makes the cities feel, I mean, you find now third wave coffees in Moscow and
Hmm.
Thailand, everywhere, So it's like something scary because I think we all cherish the specificities of the city,
Hmm.
what makes it unique. And at the same time, cities are trying to brand themselves and try to preserve and protect what makes a specific city its own.
Hmm.
But also, I think there's this idea that we all are very connected as city dwellers. Somebody, a teacher I had said we are more connected, the cities between them, than some cities to with their own and countryside, for example.
Hmm.
On rural
Hmm.
life, it's very disconnected from the city, and you feel very apart as if you find any city urban, city person, you have the same codes, you understand how to move in a city from a city to another. So this for me was interesting. I would not say my film has kind of an opinion on it. It's not trying to say, I mean, yes, I think this brings problems, and I'm not a fan of globalization. I think we have to protect cities, but
Hmm.
Chronicle of a City was trying to portray, maybe to give back to the people the idea of like own your dreams
Hmm.
of a city, dream your cities and understand that they belong physically to you, that they that your body, your the way you care for them, like many of the characters. And to come back to your first question,
Mhm.
how did I find the characters and how did I work with them? The participants, actually, I would call them. Um,
Mhm.
I realize, I think it's maybe unconscious, but everybody has kind of a place in the city where they take care of it. You know, you have
Mhm.
like I don't know how you call them in English, like la grúa, you know, where the
Yeah,
guy,
the cranes.
the cranes, exactly. The guy that works
Mhm.
on a crane. You have the lady that works in a hotel, cleaning the rooms in a tower hotel, you know,
Mhm.
typical of a city. You have somebody working on the sewage. So it's, and then you have people living it through moving around. It's a thing of movement and perspective, but all the characters have a very, they don't have like a power place on the city. They care for a space and they
Mhm.
have their own intimate relationship to it from where they stand or from the way they experience it.
Mhm.
And so every scene was created with them from that aspect. Like
Mhm.
you were a biker, for example, Plumas that bikes through the city. That's what she does,
Mhm.
really, you know. But
Mhm.
then we pushed a bit to try to create something more poetical, more a bit more mise en scène with a bit more codes of fiction
Mhm.
in order to push this idea of imagination, of dreamy, of mood, of the mood that creates of or allows the viewer to let go of reality a bit and just kind of connect with your own, yeah, your own
Mhm.
experiences and dreams.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's interesting that you bring up the topic of power in the city and how all of these characters seem to not be people in specific positions of power to decide policy making in the city. But there is one scene that also stood out to me in the film, which is the maybe very short scene of a protest or of yeah uh, a protest for
Mm-hmm.
lack of a better word at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
um where there's sort of one character that takes us there, but we never see the character,
Mm-hmm.
and it seemed like a scene that was maybe outside of that sort of texture that you had established, and the roles that you had established for these characters in the city. And I just wanted to ask you what the decision behind putting that scene in the film was.
I think at the end of the film, I felt the viewer understands that he's been carried on the shoulder of every participant that we meet.
Mhm.
And for me, it was the last vehicle to kind of drop us as the viewer, as the public, to this bigger gathering. We are all through the film. It's a lot of single or very, you know, sometimes there are two, but usually there are single
Mhm.
participants that are speaking alone or in their own experience, and you are with them intimately related, but it's a very solitary trip
Mhm.
through this multitude. And at the end, it's like you find a multitude. So I wanted this character
Mhm.
not to be representing or telling, I want telling something about him or her or in the crowd or in the or in the protest, but more to drop us as the viewer in this space, and then you are part of of this bigger gathering. And I mean, now we're spoiling the end of the film, but it's like this is my statement to, you know,
Mhm.
cities are full of loneliness, but I think what is their strength is this community, this mass movement that we can create power, that we have, but yeah, that we have power actually,
Mhm.
and it's not always just through a really political discourse that we can regain this power, but also through more subtle understanding of what is a space that we can reconquer as citizens, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, I didn't want to mention specifically where in the film the scene was.
Sorry,
But I think
I
it's
spoiled myself.
I think it's an important context to walk into the film and to not just see it as a very poetic and beautiful
Hmm.
collection of individual stories, but to be able to unearth the what you talk about, the political weight of individually caring for the city and finding
Hmm.
those spaces of our own, even if we don't have the again the power to change decisions over how corporations function in our city very immediately, that we still have a power to make a positive effect and impact on our space through those very individual experiences and behaviors.
Hmm. Yeah, I think sometimes the problems are so big that we feel overwhelmed and very far away from the possibility of even acting on it. Sometimes reconnecting with the small, just the feeling that it belongs to you. Cities
Hmm.
belong to us. The earth belongs to us, but whatever, we kind of forget about it, and
Hmm.
or some people know in the bad way they own everything and forget that it's a shared space. But I think this idea that like it's the place where we, not just intimately dream and live, but like philosophically and politically we create our civilizations, we decide our narrative, collective or individual. But I think it's a very important physical space to better understand and to, yeah, to have a dialogue with. Sometimes it's not just giving the answers through the film. Sometimes it's just
Hmm.
provoking thinking spaces or space, a room of thinking. Oh, we
Hmm.
were calling it with my sound editor, spaces, sound spaces to think,
Hmm.
just to
Hmm.
reflect and react and connect. And this provokes things because some of the people that watch the films told me afterwards it stays with you. And
Hmm.
for me,
Hmm.
that was maybe the best thing, It means
Hmm.
it moved something in the way we made it.
Yeah, no, it absolutely did. I was really excited when they told me I had the chance to have a dialogue with you after I'd seen the film because I had thought so highly of it when I watched it um first for the programming. So
Thank you so
yeah, I'm
much.
I'm really happy they're also having this space to expand those thoughts a bit more. I had two more questions I wanted to get to.
Yeah,
If there's anything else you'd like to expand on, please feel free.
thank you.
But if not, I wanted to ask you about the production of the film
Hmm.
specifically, because shooting across three different countries with a variety of participants, as you say, can't have been easy, I would
Hmm.
imagine. So I just wanted to get a little bit of an insight of what the production was like, since you also mentioned that it took a while to complete the filming and the production of it.
Yeah, I think it was both thing but for a part. It's not an easy film to write because it's
Hmm.
abstract, because it's based on feelings and of movement, and there's not a subject. I'm not saying things very precisely about the urban topic, and financing the film was not easy for that in that aspect, and
Hmm.
I'm lucky that in Quebec we got like the help from SODEC and the Conseil des Arts et Lettres du Québec, which saved the project and allow us to make it as we wanted to. It was a bit smaller than when I mean I had a lot of ambition. I wanted to go to a African continent. I
Hmm.
didn't want to go to Europe because I felt the European cities are the ones that we always narrate. And I
Hmm.
was like, wow, I want to go to Lagos. We've never seen, the high rises of Lagos. And and then
Hmm.
there was a pandemic, and then I had a
Hmm.
baby, and so many things happened. And it was a very learning experience. For
Hmm.
example, having a kid um,
Hmm.
forced me to reorganize the way we were working, we're shooting. So I had to be more precise.
Hmm.
I was tired. My partner is the DP, and so we had the kid together, and my producer, super. We were like a team of three with the kid, and then my parents came along in Mexico, of course,
Hmm.
but then in Japan
Hmm.
too, they came.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was like a family trip to make this happen. So
Hmm.
this informs the way you work, of course,
Hmm.
and now I understand in a good way, sometimes you feel family will hold you back from doing art the way we always imagine art is made, but
Hmm.
art is mainly made by men with a lot of free time. So I was like, okay, well, having not the same time forced me to work differently. Also, and being more precise, we didn't have much money and much time, but we knew what we were looking for. So I kind of made a very clear path of the film. We did like a kind of storyboard with a friend, having like a small illustrated drawing and references and photos, and I
Hmm.
knew the path I was taking. I knew I wanted to start with a character that enters the city through a train
Hmm.
that travels in it. I knew I wanted to bike. I knew I wanted to go through the night. So I had things very, and when we, for example, met our line producers, fixers, I would ask them, okay, well, I'm looking for that kind of participants. Do you know? And then we would meet people, and it all
Hmm.
constructed like this, like a little puzzle very organic and with and very, based on the collaborations we had with everyone. So everybody participated in building this fresco that we made.
Mm.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think that that really comes across as well in the texture of the film itself. And I wish we could keep talking about this, but I have one more question I wanted to get at the very high risk of going overboard with the time. But please, I want you to feel free to take the time you need to answer this question. One of the aspects I found so moving about the film was the personability of the film and how humane and how intimate it felt. And I wanted to ask you specifically in relation to documentaries.
Hmm.
What do you see the role of documentaries in the near future in an artistic landscape where we find that it's becoming increasingly dominated by artificially imitated human art,
Hmm.
and how you think documentary can adapt to this landscape that seems to be going further and further away from the human perspective and the human hand and
Hmm.
the human face, the human presence.
Hmm. It's a great question you're asking, and the fact that you told me about it just before, so I could
Hmm.
think about it,
Yeah.
I realized I didn't, of course, AI has been in the mind of everybody, and I think in fiction and in advertisement and things like this, it's a bit more scary in music, and some industries are, facing a real, I wouldn't say crisis right now, and some people are very uh, unafraid
Hmm.
of the creative aspect, meaning that in the industrial aspect, of course, you will have efficiency in this, like the narratives will be built and they all feel the same, and then it's going to be just, be rolling the economy and just making stuff.
Hmm.
I hope we don't become like vinyl, the vinyls. But I think documentary has always been a bit of a side, and through the years, the creative, the creative exploration of the form has been exponential and very
Hmm.
interesting. I think you cannot take away the human relationship in the documentary
Hmm.
process. So this cannot be made by machines. I mean, what filmmakers do when they go spend years with characters or discovering territories, and I think you can maybe write your grant
Hmm.
proposal with AI, but I mean, w- w- this of you being there,
Hmm.
connecting with the people, having a relationship, facing reality, this is something I think documentary will be protected from, because we nobody else than humans can do it.
Hmm.
This is the good aspect, and I think maybe it's going to be even more relevant in that aspect for democracies, for protecting, the necessity of well, yeah, depicting reality with time,
Hmm.
with critical minds, and not in the industrial process of journalism sometimes too, that they have, a lot of pressure for economic reasons or whatever, the subscribers and what else. So I think
Hmm.
this art will and this cinema form will remain more than ever very necessary and relevant, and that's a
Hmm.
good thing. But I mean, we have to be able to still make this art form.
Hmm.
I know, I don't know, I love documentary, and making Chronicle was a huge learning curve for me. Uh, Traveling abroad. I mean, I filmed in Greece before. It was one place, and I was going back and over again. And this was a bit more complex in the
Hmm.
editing too. But I learned that it's a cinema form that I adore, and and yeah, passionate people make it, and so these people cannot be replaced by AI, not
Hmm.
for now.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Thank you
And also
for, yeah,
the good news, if I can add, is I'm
of
gonna
course.
be there at my screening.
Wonderful.
So if
Excellent.
ever, so
Yeah.
yes, we can, like, the people that want to come and see the film and
Hmm.
continue the conversation, I'll be there.
Excellent. Excellent. I didn't know that, so phenomenal news, at
It's a
least for
sur
me.
it's
Yeah.
a surprise.
Excellent.
Yes.
I'm glad to be sharing that with everyone. Nadine is going to be present at the screening of Chronicles of a City. It's going to be screening on September the 17th at 2 p.m. at Cineworks, the adjacent space to Cinematheque. The festival is going to be happening again September 10th to the 20th at Cinematheque and Cineworks. Tickets are available online at vlaf.org. You can buy individual tickets, passes. But we would love to have you there. We would love to have you join in the democratic process that I think festivals are increasingly becoming
Yes.
a space of resistance to isolating digital art and a space where we can keep building community, as I think Nadine talked about and shared really beautifully in her film. So yeah, thank you very much, Nadine, for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
Thank you
Of
so much
course.
for having me and having this beautiful space for conversation. I really appreciate, and I love your backdrop.
Thank you very much. It is real. I
I
know
know.
some people may be thinking it's too. I just got a new mosquito bite here. You might have seen me struggling with the little buddy that came to give me that gift. So yeah, thank you all very much for joining us, and we hope to see you at the festival.
Yes. Thank you. Bye, Tadeo. Thank you so much.
Bye, Nadine.
Bye.